everyone. How you doing? Good. Hi everyone. How you doing? We are Joan and Victor. So we are once again on our broadcast, RWJ Cow Chat, and I would want to tell you the good news. This is the last of the episodes.
Good news.
It's been like forever. We've been doing virtues. Sad. Oh, sad. This is the last topic of virtue. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any question, drop it, comment, and get back to us. At the end of today's broadcast, we have a few announcements, and we'll let you know. Or we can actually announce it. Give me the so yeah, so Big J is just nipping out of the show, and she's going to nip back like a bird. She's coming. So we have our first booklet that helps children towards cultural awareness. And what does this do? It's just a booklet that talks and it's a monthly reflection. So each month we have a booklet that we publish under a theme. And one of the two here is confidence and change perception. So it's all about how do you feel confident about your culture? How do you feel confident expressing your culture? How do you express your culture? Can you express yourself in your culture without any inhibition? This is just notes for kids to think about, write their thoughts down, and as they interact with children from different culture, it's easier for them to interact with one another. I particularly like change perception because change perception is actually helping kids to think of changing their perception towards other kids, especially kids that are not from their cultural background. You know, they begin to think, how do I think of an Indian kid? How do I think of the African kids in my class? How do I think of the Chinese kids in my class? How do I think of the Scottish kids in my class? It's just that we're beginning to give kids some insights about thinking of others and reflecting of others as they interact with one another in class, in the community, on the playground. Kids begin to ask themselves, do I have a good perception of others? Do I express my culture properly? Do I have the confidence to tell other people, this is who I am? I'm a Nigerian, I'm beautiful, I have dimples. Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, so you can get copies of these on Amazon, and you can also order on our website www.readgroupfeed.com. So just order copies, and we have free resources, activity packs on our website that kids can just download and write their thoughts about their expressions of culture and their ideas, what they think about it. In InfoHub Me, we are all about teaching kids about literacy, and we use cultural awareness as a way to get kids to understand their culture through books. Okay, so back to today's episode. That was a shot in the blue. Am I singing?
Yes, 4 minutes.
Yeah?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. I use 4 minutes to talk. Okay, now let me go. So today we are concluding on our topic virtue. And like I told the J girls, I'm sad, I'm happy that this is our last episode, but I enjoyed it for the past few months, and we've gone through several aspects of virtue. And you can see we've talked about integrity, we talked about discernment, we talked about diligence, temperance, courage. I really love courage because I need it. I need the confidence to keep going.
I like the first one.
Integrity.
Because, yes.
You liked
We had
integrity.
that song.
Oh, because of the songs. Oh, and I think I really
I
love
like diligence.
you like diligence, and I loved respect because oh
Or
god,
something.
because I'm an African, right? I would love
I like-
respect.
I like diligence.
You like diligence, and I like humility because
I'm just showing myself. So you basically like everything.
I like everything because we all have to build our character. Remember?
Humility and courage have the least things.
Okay, so remember, we need to develop the virtues of personhood, the virtues of actions, and the virtues of relationships. They are all part of a character building for every child. So if you're a child that you're watching us, we aim to help you to build your character, because that's more important to an individual than the color of your skin. We don't promote colors of skin, we promote who the people are within. And we want you to look at all these characters and say, as an individual, my life will promote integrity, my life will promote discernment, my life will promote courage, respect to any individual I see on the street. It doesn't matter where
The
they are from.
four corners of the world.
The four corners of the world, like Lisa just said, the four corners of the world. Okay, so let's go on. So we'll quickly go on to today, and this is the last one, moral, virtue of moral relationships. And the last topic is love, because we've been doing love for the past 3 weeks. Love is huge. So
Now we're on forgiveness and compassion.
exactly. So we're doing forgiveness and compassion today. So what is forgiveness?
The principle of letting off.
Yeah, the principle of letting off. What does that mean?
That means
Let it go.
Let it go. Anyway, so it's a principle of pardon. What does remission mean?
Taking back.
Taking back or giving
Then-
away. Remitting.
Pardon means like,
What about
it's sometimes
absolution?
used as like
Absolution is like when it's absolutely.
Everything is all about letting go, absolutely giving it up and forgiving. So let's go into more details, and we'll look at different aspects of what forgiveness is all about. So little J, you always start. What is forgiveness?
forgiveness means different things to different people.
Right.
Generally, however, it involves a decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of
Mm-hmm.
The act
Revenge.
revenge.
Mm-hmm.
The act that hurt or offended you might always be with you. Forgiveness can lessen its grip on you and help free you from control. Personal.
Okay, wait. You're making me laugh right now. Seriously, we are talking about something serious. Right. Okay, it's good to make forgiveness really fun. So forgiveness means different things to different people, but it involves a decision to let go of resentment and revenge. It also has an element of forgiving and hurt for whoever has offended you, and it also has an element of losing the grip of people you hold in your heart, of people that have harmed you, because when you don't forgive, you are holding a grip of somebody's neck in your heart. That's exactly what unforgiveness means. So, but letting go of that grip, and okay, this person has harmed me, but I'm letting go of whatever they've done. Oh yeah, I'll read the second. What is forgiveness to you?
Forgiveness in a psychological sense is the
Mhm.
intentional and voluntary.
Intention. What the word intention and
No,
By
voluntary?
which one makes
By which one may initially feel victimized, undergoes a change in feeling and
Uh-huh.
attitude regarding a given offense, and overcomes negative emotions such as resentment and vengeance.
So let's look at the
And then
process.
vengeance is like revenge, isn't it?
Vengeance is a revenge. So let's look at the process. The person has an intention to do it. The person volunteers to do it because the person feels victimized, number one, and the person has a feeling, an offense towards what another person has done. And an offense is a negative emotion. So before you can actually forgive, you must intend to, you must volunteer to, you must feel victimized, you must feel the wrong, you must feel a grudge, you must feel offended, because you can't forgive when you don't feel offended by anything. So there's nothing to forgive. So there is an element of feeling of offense, of grief, of everything, the emotions, resentment, revenge, avenge, venge. But you must have all those feelings, and it is the ability to let go of those feelings that is forgiveness. And psychologist also says that is defined as a conscious, deliberate decision. You see, intentional, voluntary, conscious, deliberate decision to release something, release somebody, release a resentment towards you or an event of somebody that harmed you. Until there is an intention and a release, there's no forgiveness. So a lot of people say, I forgive you, but they've not had a proper
They
intention.
don't mean it.
No,
They
that's
don't
not the way to
intend
explain it. They mean it sometimes, but they've not yet understood that they have to deliberately make a decision. Because I can mean to forgive you, but have not made a decision to forgive you. They are two different things.
Okay, I forgive you, and then you don't know what it means by
All right, so if we continue to listen to Little J, we'll go on. But that is what it means. So you have a conscious, deliberate decision. So after today, you have to sit down and consciously, deliberately forgive me now for anything I've done.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
and-
done anything.
I forgive you.
Oh yeah. What's that about? All right, so let's quickly go because I think we have a lot of things to talk about today. So why do we forgive?
In order to receive forgiveness for our sins, we need to forgive others.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving others allows us to overcome feelings of
Mm-hmm.
anger, bitterness, or revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness can heal spiritual wounds and bring the peace and love that only God can give. Or
Yeah.
forgiveness.
Forgiveness can give. Now, the way I got this quote from God is there. But if you are not religious at all, we are we have faith and we know that forgiveness has a link with everything about our faith. But if you have no faith and you're just somebody nominal, forgiveness still means an ability to overcome your anger, because if you don't forgive, you'll not be able to overcome that feeling of anger, bitterness, revenge, and you'll not be able to heal inside, because until you forgive, there is no healing. And so you say there are always two decisions. If you look at that picture,
Yeah,
what
I like
happens when
that.
you forgive?
I like that
It's
thing.
brighter and it's like nicer.
Uh-huh. And you can growth. Look at the green grass. There's growth. There's growth. There's brighter. Look at the tree. The tree is blossoming. But until you forgive, all that can happen. See what happens when you don't forgive.
It's like a desert.
A desert, a dry land. You're sick. You are upset, anger, rage. That's what happens when you don't forgive. So I think it's better that we illustrate this in pictures so that people understand. Yes, people have hurt you, but you're hurting yourself by not letting go. Because when you don't let go, that's how your life is in the desert. When you let go, this is what happens to you. You flourish. And so there are three types of forgiveness: exonerating, forbearing, and release. So exonerating means I cancel all your bills. Forbearing, I bear it, just like what for those that have faith, Jesus did on the cross. He bared it. He forbore all our sins. And then release,
Means to let go
of what somebody has done. So there are three types of forgiveness. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go on into the next slide. So, Little J.
Forgiveness involves the overcoming of anger,
Mm-hmm.
and mercy involves the withholding of harsh treatment that one has a right to inflict.
Mm-hmm.
Both allow for healing, but some critics would say that this healing may come at too high a price.
Yeah, they call it a critics, but the healing can come at a high price. Who took the highest price?
Jesus.
Jesus. For us that have faith, Jesus took the highest price by dying because he had to forgive us. But for those that don't have faith, it could cost you your highest price. I gave an example of the boy that killed a woman's son last week. What
If
happened?
you don't know what she's talking about,
Go to the video last week. We had a very good example of forgiveness last week, although it was under with mercy. But we are talking about
They're
mercy
similar,
here. They're similar. So forgiveness has to do with overcoming anger. Mercy has to do with withholding the harsh treatment that I would have melted onto you. So the woman we spoke about last week did two things. She forgave the boy that killed her son, overcame the anger and the resentment towards the boy, and then withhold the treatment, the punishment. Even if it's 5, can you listen, Little J? Then He withhold the punishment, and the punishment of the guilt the boy would have suffered. The woman kept visiting him in prison because he wanted to have mercy on him. And so that's what forgiveness does. So forgiveness is the best way to form love. It takes a strong person to say sorry and a stronger person to forgive. Every time we talk in the house, we always say, and you can't say sorry. It takes a strong person to say sorry. And it takes a stronger person to actually forgive.
Like if someone says sorry,
Yeah.
hard to them they're saying sorry to actually forgive.
Yes. Yes. So, how do we forgive someone?
Acknowledge your emotions about the harm done to you and how they affect your behavior, and work to release them.
Choose to forgive the person who offended you. D2J?
Well, move away from your role as victim and release control, empower the offended person and situation you have handled their heart.
So, 3 things: acknowledge, choose, and move away. Stop acting like a victim. You hurt me 25 years ago. You hurt me 3,000 years ago. You hurt me 5,000 years ago. Now, this is one of the things I want to teach kids about relationship with people from different culture. It is true that slave trade had happened. It is true that people have hurt each other. It is true that war happened. War is happening in Ukraine and Russia. It takes acknowledgement of each other's sin to say, okay, let's forgive, let's give up, and let's stop behaving. Ukraine should not act as a victim anymore. Russia should not act as a victim anymore. Let's release the control of that situation. So the same thing in our individual lives, as we are talking about Ukraine and Russia. How do we relate? Do we release the emotions? Do we choose to forgive? And do we stop acting like victims? So we need to stop acting like victims before we can begin to bear fruit and have a fertile ground.
And that's after forgiveness.
That's after forgiveness. So you can say, okay, now I am no more going to act as a victim anymore. I am going to own my life. I'm going to control my life. And this person's offense is not going to affect me anymore. And there is no love without forgiveness. And there is no forgiveness without love. So you can't tear them apart. They all stand together. Love and forgiveness stand together. You can't separate them. Do you need a bed?
No.
Okay. All right. So 5 steps to forgive a person.
Reflect the situation. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Choose to learn from the experience.
Let it go.
Decide where you want to go from here.
All right. So let's take that one by one. Reflect on the situation. There was, my personal story. Let me give a very good one. The first one was, a good one is my academics. When I felt very hot in my academics and what was done to me, I reflected on the situation. I said, okay, maybe I did something wrong actually, or maybe I didn't do something wrong. I acknowledged where maybe I should have kept quiet. I didn't say anything. And I also reflected on the fact that I've not forgiven myself because I started carrying the guilt of a failure. So remember, forgiveness is not just to people. Forgiveness is to you too. And so what next? I put myself in the shoes of the other person. Maybe they don't see the way I'm seeing it. And then the next thing, I chose to learn from the experience. And that's why after that, I went to study again. Did you notice? I went to study after that experience. And then I let go of the past, telling myself that does not measure my life. That failure, that academic failure does not measure my life. I need to move on. I let go. And then I decided I am going to InfoHub me from there. Look at that. You just look at that. Just look at that. It's so sweet. It's so sweet, right? So these are the steps. You decide at each person. So that was academics. It could be friends in school. It could be family members. It could be your neighbor. Reflect on it. So become aware of your own shortcomings. That was what I said when you're reflecting. Realize that when you forgive, you are not condoning that person's action.
So it's not like it's saying what they did was right,
Exactly.
but it's just saying that what you did is wrong and I accept that, but now I'm not going to be like upset with you anymore and I get to accept your apology.
Good. So even if they don't apologize, don't expect people to apologize, because they didn't apologize to me from the academics. Remember, they didn't apologize to me. But what I realized, that I did not condone their actions, what they did towards me, but I had to forgive them for what they've done. You understand? So there's no way, nothing they did could justify what they did to me, but I still had to forgive them. And then look at number 3: be grateful for what that person has taught you. The experience taught me a lot of things. Whatever situation you go through, there's always something to learn from it. So sit down, reflect, decide where you want to go with what you've learned from it. Don't keep on one place. So, love is an act of endless forgiveness. Forgiveness is me giving up my right to hurt you for hurting me. Forgiveness is the final act of love. Imagine that. So you can't separate forgiveness from love.
So you know that those two are like,
Hmm?
so those two are like conjoined twins.
They are twins, yeah. So you cannot forgive without love. It's the final act of love. Remember the woman and the son, the prisoner, is a final act of love, forgiveness. Why is forgiveness difficult? So let's be realistic. We don't want to take it a pinch of salt and say, everybody just do it. Sometimes it's very difficult. I found it difficult in my life, and I've expressed it in RWJ culture several times. But I'm going through it. I'm going through it every day, and I'm trying every day. Why is it difficult?
According to physicist and software engineer Frank Hyde, forgiving is difficult because the human consciousness has a hard time living in the present. Hyde states that with the language intertwined into human consciousness, we use it as a time machine to roam in our memories.
Okay, so let me break them down. So what he's trying to say is, as human beings, we find it very difficult to live in the present. Most of the time, we live in the past and we live in the future. That is why they are doing a lot of AI to take you into Wonderland. So that's the future. Metaverse. So you have humans always thinking about the future, and you always have humans always thinking about the past, our consciousness. When you sit down, what are you always thinking? I say, what are you thinking? You say, I'm thinking of what happened in school. You're always thinking of the past. And so because unforgiveness is something that happened in the past, our consciousness is always dwelling on it. You see what I mean? So if forgiveness is something that is present, it will be easy to deal with. But because it's always an occurrence that happened in the past, and our consciousness always dwells in the past, it's like a time machine. We keep roaming and roaming and roaming. So the time machine will take us to 1945, 1986, 1920, 1908, 1917, 14. So that is why, let me give an example. That is why, let me say, the Black Americans, is difficult for them to completely let go, because many of them are living in the consciousness of the past.
You're not just Black Americans.
I'm giving an example.
Okay, sorry.
I'm giving an example. So it could be anybody. It could be Africans. Oh, they sold my forefathers as a slave trade. So I'll continue to live in the past as a child of a slave owner, or a slave trader, or a slave. Sabas.
Slave.
So we need to, you understand why it's difficult. So when you see somebody that is difficult for them to forgive, it's because they've not lived in the consciousness and intention. You see all those words: intention, consciousness, present, to decide I want to do it. They are still roaming in the time machine of the past. So how do we fully forgive yourself? You know, I said something that sometimes is about you.
Wait, this is just a thing. This picture is just a thing of laugh slot.
So how do you actually forgive yourself? Remember, it's okay to feel guilty. Like I said, I felt guilty about my failures, and I understood the difference between guilty and shame. What's the difference between guilty and shame? You know?
No.
So guilt is...
Oh wait, Guilt is what you feel by yourself, and shame is what people like do to you.
Yeah, shame is what you admit people are doing to you. I feel ashamed they poured water on me. It's different from I feel guilty they poured water on me. You must have done something for somebody to give you shame. So shame is always external, while guilt is internal. So I feel guilty. This is very extreme. I feel guilty I stole your lunch. I feel ashamed because I can't face you. When I face you, you see, there are two different things. So shame is the one that I would go back to my university today and I'll feel, oh, I didn't get my grade. But I don't feel guilty anymore inwardly that I didn't get my grade. See what it means? I admit you mess up, I mess up. Apologize for anyone you've hurt in the process. Write yourself an apology letter. I did that several times. Take care of yourself mentally, physically, and be patient. Forgiveness takes time. Forgiving yourself takes time because every time you go into the time machine of the past, you remember again. But you have to make up your mind. Don't try to change other people. If you cannot change yourself as a superwoman or a super girl, don't change others. Forgiveness is giving up my right to hurt you for hurting me.
That was a bit confusing.
Why is it confusing? My right?
It's just a wording.
Yeah. My right, give up, hurt you, hurting me. All right, what's the power of forgiveness? Remember the picture of a field. Forgiveness means giving up the suffering of the past and the willingness to forge ahead and far greater potential for inner freedom. Besides the reward of letting go of painful past, there are powerful healing benefits that come hand in hand with the practice of forgiveness. So, remember the picture we showed about the green grass and the barren land. That's what happens. That's the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't excuse their behavior. What does forgiveness do?
Forgiveness prevents their behavior from destroying your heart.
That's just the power. So forgiveness doesn't say, I forgive Mr. So for what he did to me. No, forgiveness says, what Mr. So did to me will not affect my life anymore. So learn that, put it at your right hand, and run the rest of your life with it. Why is forgiveness so difficult? We've done that before, but this is the picture. Forgiveness is the power that breaks the chain of bitterness and anger and sets you free from the shackles of your own prison. Remember, the shackles of your own prison is not the prison they put you into. So unforgiveness is a prison you created yourself. So girls and boys, daddies and mommies, unforgiveness is a prison we create ourselves. It's a self-afflicted prison. So the power to break that chain of that bitterness, that anger is in your hands. The power to let go and come out of that prison is in your hands. So whatever you decide to do with it is yours. So a lot of people that refuse to forgive, you know what happens to them. Health challenges, they live in barren land, they're angry, they are frustrated. But when you want to break free, it is there. So you see, the chains are broken. Okay? Once again, the power of forgiveness for us to forge ahead. That's what it does. What does forgiveness do to the brain? We're coming back to science again. So, Big J.
Granting forgiveness is associated with activations in a brain network involved in theory of mind, empathy, and the regulation of affect through cognition, which comprise the precuneus right inferior regions and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex.
Oh my God, you need to go and read about that and come and tell me. Really? So they are parts of a brain, literally. But what forgiveness does, it helps us to develop empathy. It regulates our cognitive system so that when we react, we react well. We don't react harshly. We react normally. So our brain stimulates things. You remember when I was telling you that when you shed tears, I say your brain is stimulating something. Same way when you forgive, your brain activates some networks of regions in your brain, the internal, the right inferior regions, and they begin to secrete some hormones that helps you to empathize with others, that helps you to regulate the effect of that pain in your body, that let goes of that pain and healing comes to you. That's what forgiveness does. But without that door forgiveness open, none of this will happen. That is why Desmond Tutu, what is Archbishop Desmond, blessed memory, what did he say?
Forgiveness says that you are given another chance to make a new beginning.
Exactly. So your brain says forgiveness, it's time to make a new beginning. That's exactly what that says in science form. This is layman, this is science. So forgiveness is simply saying, I give you a new beginning. Yeah, there's a lot. That's why I said there's a lot. Forgiveness, the negative consequence of not forgiveness or forgiving is already documented. And what are the consequences we've talked about? Anger, hate, hurt, resentment, bitterness,
and so on.
and which leads to health issues, affect relationships, stop experiencing freedom. You see, you are living in bondage, prison. It's bad. Thank you for saying that. And remember, we've been talking about love. Everything is under love. You see, we did kindness, we did responsibility, we did honesty. Altruism is there. You see, tenderness, grace, merciful. We did merciful last week. Compassion. All of them is comes.
Altruism.
Yes. Yeah, we said that. Calm down, baby, calm down. We said that. So all of them are connected to forgiveness. So lastly, forgivers don't harbor offense. Remember, girls, forgivers don't blur offense. In other words, ignore offense as if it doesn't happen. You have to acknowledge it. Forgivers realize forgiveness is a choice. Forgivers keep a right spirit. And for those that have faith again, forgivers strive to be like Jesus because Jesus forgave us. But if you don't have faith, forgivers strive to love like their mentor. Really? Their hero. Their hero that are forgiven. So read what Martin Luther King said very gently so we can hear.
Forgiveness does not mean ignoring what has been done or putting a false label on an evil act. It means rather that the evil act no longer remains as a barrier to the relationship.
Forgiveness is a catalyst, creating the atmosphere necessary for a new start and a new beginning. That is the summary of everything we've said. Isn't that beautiful? That is beautiful. So, girls, as we have learned or we've said all that, let's come back. What have we learned from forgiveness today?
Forgiving is freeing yourself from a self-built prison of resentment and the need for revenge.
Okay, what have you learned?
A lot.
A lot. Like what?
like forgiveness can lead to more relationships and happiness.
Good.
Health and less health issues.
Less health issues. Good.
But not forgiving can lead to things worse and worse until
you're dead.
Yes.
Now, what I learned is that forgiveness is not saying the person have not offended you. Forgiveness is not saying I ignore what they've done. Forgiveness is not saying they didn't do anything to me, even though you are in pain. Forgiveness is acknowledging the pain. Forgiveness is taking a step to say, I'm not going to feel guilty about it if it's me that did it. Forgiveness is a conscious effort to let go and move on so that you can bear and be fruitful. All right, that's
Mom,
a good summary. Yes?
You know when you said they didn't do anything to me, it sounded like that boy with the big head.
Which boy?
Taggle.
Oh, really? How can you be bringing that on this show? Anyway, guys, you might not understand that that is just the J girls making their internal references. So let's go to compassion.
Principle.
Wait, let's go back. Compassion. We have here on compassion is the principle of
Empathy.
empathy. So,
Care and consideration.
warmth, care, and consideration. So, little J, are you a compassionate person? Oh, we'll find out. Are you a compassionate person?
I can, but I tend not to show that side of me.
You tend not to show. That's very honest. So, little J, are you compassionate? We'll find out. Am I compassionate? I think I care. I think I'm a one person if I want to. I think I'm very considerate. Yeah,
Yeah, you give up your time a lot
I can.
for us.
I can give up my time, so I'm very compassionate with my time. All right, so let's find out what compassionate is about, and we'll have examples.
Compassion.
To have compassion means to empathize with someone who
is
is suffering and to feel compelled
compelled
to reduce the suffering.
Mhm.
It's a fuller, truer definition than feelings alone, and it's a very biblical
understanding.
Again, compassion is linked to the Bible,
Can
but
I read that again? Because it just sounded weird.
No, I
so let me just summarize. It means empathizing with someone who is suffering. It means you are compelled to reduce their suffering. It means that you make sure that they're not feeling alone. And for those that are religious or have faith, it has its basis in the Bible. But if they don't, it's normal for a human being to be compassionate with or without faith. Okay? So to be compassionate means you have a deep feeling for another person as they experience their ups and downs associated with life. To be compassionate is not to tell someone that you care, but also to show that you care by being there before they even ask for it. So compassion is proactive. Compassion is something you do without expecting a reward. Compassion is putting yourself in the shoes of other people. Let's Big J, can you read the last one?
True compassion is the ability to be sympathetic, empathetic, as well as having the desire to alleviate another's pain and suffering.
Mhm.
Beyond living life at the level of do unto others as you would have others to do unto you.
Mhm.
Compassion looks to heal others even in instances where you would not heal yourself.
So compassion and altruism, they are brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Because even when you don't heal yourself,
Forgiveness.
yeah, even when you don't heal yourself, you go ahead and you help somebody. You let go of your own life and you think about others. But it's important that it's beyond do as you want others to do. So it's compassion is not just sitting down at the level of do as you want others to do. It goes beyond that.
Also, it's a bit different to altruism because altruism is helping others while sacrificing yourself, but
Mhm.
compassion is helping others even if you weren't going to do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay, helping others if you're not going to do it anyway. All right, so that's a good observation. So let's talk about compassion to a child. So what does compassion mean? You go to a school, you start a school. A new girl starts a school. She came from a different part of the country and does not know anyone. She looks very serious and hardly smiles throughout the day. At break time, she sits by herself. What do you do? Don't read that. What do you do?
Step into
You just read that. What do you do, little Jane? I'll stone her.
Ask
You see, it felt very weird, right? That's not what is expected. But if you have compassion, you would imagine how she feels.
And then I would ask her to become my friend. If she says no, that's
So you ask her to become your friend. If she says no, that's fine. But you imagine how she feels, and then you can ask her, how can we help? So you can bring 2 or 3 of your friends together and say, we want to be your friends. You want to play with us? Or if you're alone, you can go to her and share that situation. So how do you explain it to a child? Compassion means to care for others, treat them with kindly, and feel a strong desire to help people in need. Compassion is empathy in action. So for a 6 years old or 12 years old or 8 years old, compassion means give a hug, write a card, say something that is kind to a family member who feels upset. Did you remember there was a time that went to school and you discussed about some people in school? Did you remember what I told you to do? Tell it. What did I tell you to do?
Say something kind to them.
Mhm.
Um,
I said get a post-it. What did I say you should do with the post-it?
oh, put it in their locker with a kind note.
Do the kind note. So I was teaching you compassion. I was teaching you that even if they are not kind to you, even if they are mean to you, your best attitude to them is make a card, write a note. Definitely, you won't give a hug because of coronavirus, but
No, definitely.
yeah,
If
say
it's a family
something.
member, then
Yeah, to a family member, you give a hug, say something kind. Don't repeat what they say. Don't repeat the mean words. Okay, so that's what compassion is about as a child. So, what does uncompassionate means?
Non-compassionate means indifferent or uncaring about the way other people feel.
You know, we always say, why don't you think about what other people feel? Anytime we say that, it means that you're not showing compassion right now. Whenever I say, is it always about you alone? You're not showing compassion that time. So you always have to be conscious. An uncompassionate person isn't emotionally affected by the sight of people crying.
so in a movie, if you don't tear up when you see someone crying, it's not around.
That's a movie. And I'm talking about real life.
I was gonna say I'm definitely not.
No, that's I'm talking about real life. When you see people crying, you do cry. Yeah, you have a bowl of water on your face. Remember, you just tap water. Yeah, yeah. So if you look at that diagram, caring, avoidance. Um, look, caring and avoidance, letting empathy be a barrier to your action. Okay, wise compassion, getting tough things done in a humane way. So it's all about looking at a diagram of indifferent people and compassionate people.
So ignorant compassion is caring avoidance,
Yeah,
and wise compassion is wise compassion.
yeah, wise
And then
compassion.
ignorant indifference is ineffective indifference. And
Yeah.
then wise indifference is inherent execution.
So let me give an example of cultural differences and use this. So people can be indifferent about other people's culture and be ignorant of it. So because of that, they don't have compassion. So people can also they might lack wisdom in executing and understanding. Now, what we are doing is to give children the wisdom to go ahead to know other people's culture. But when they don't have the wisdom to look ahead, to think of other people's culture, they end up not having any compassion for other people. That is
Yeah.
different from them. But sometimes when they have compassion and they don't know how to do it, they are ignorant of it too. That's the first one. So they have this caring attitude, but they don't understand how an African behaves. So they want to help, but they're ignorant. And that's where a lot of people find themselves sometimes that are compassionate. But the people that are aware, can we stop fiddling with the hands? People that are aware are face are human and they understand and they empathize and they put themselves. So the yellow cube is the best place to be. So we need to move from 4 to 3 to 1 and stick to 2 most of the time, all the time. So why being compassionate is important? Compassionate is important because it promotes connection between cultures, facilitates problem solving, improves health and well-being. Compassionate at its core is about putting aside judgment, refusing to turn away from challenging situation. An incompassionate person will turn away, but a compassionate person will face the challenge, will put aside their judgment, their personal judgment, their personal feeling, and deal with the situation. They will think about other people. It will improve their own well-being. So look at the diagram. Empathy, feeling for someone. I understand what you're going through. Compassion, feeling for someone, desire to help. So you can have empathy and necessarily not help. But having empathy and helping becomes having having empathy and helping becomes compassion. What did I say then, little J?
Mm.
What did I say? What did I just explain?
Having empathy and I'll just say it in a different way.
Exactly. How do you want to express it?
So compassion, having compassion is better than having empathy because empathy, you might say, "Oh, I've been there," but you haven't really been there.
Okay.
Well, the real difference is that empathy, maybe you have been there, but you don't actually want to help. Like on the previous slide, go to the previous slide. It's like caring avoidance. It's like you know what they're going through, but you're not actually just helping them.
Mm-hmm. Girls, what do you think? Do you think we should stop here and continue next week?
No, because there's
Are you sure? Because if you look at the time, we've spent 46 minutes already, and we still have quite a few slides to go.
next week they'll finish compassion and do the summer.
Yeah, so next week we'll finish compassion and do the summary.
And
Good
that
idea.
will tie in at the end of term.
And that will time
Just about.
for your end of term, not everybody's end of term. so I think on this note, we would stop and we'll come back next week and continue compassion because we've gone beyond our time. And but I hope you enjoyed and you learned a lot about forgiveness and the beginning of compassion. And we are all in a learning process. I hope you take these virtues to begin to relate with people from different cultures, people from different backgrounds, in your church, in your mosque, in your temple, wherever you go. Begin to interact with people with the virtues that we are teaching. Children, don't forget that the most important thing in life is your character, and not your wealth, not your social status, not your circle of friends you keep. The most important thing is your character. All right. So, what do you say? We'll see you next week. Bye.